It's really neat to be a part of this event tonight. Thank you to the Palmetto Pregnancy Center. What you do is very important to me, and I'll share with you why. As I said, I'm adopted, and about 14 years ago, I had the privilege of finding out a little bit of the backstory of how I got here. We had the chance to track down my biological mom. We don't have time to go into that story, but if you go to my website, you can actually find it there. It's a pretty remarkable tale, even of how we found her. But I came crashing onto the scene under very less than stellar circumstances. My biological mom was a musician. She was a singer-songwriter. And she found herself in the midst of an adulterous affair with a married man who had 6 kids. They had no plans of getting pregnant. And they got pregnant. And when they found out that they were pregnant, they decided that the best thing to do was to have an abortion. To them, terminating a pregnancy seemed a lot better than terminating a marriage. And stopping the heart of an unknown unborn child seemed a lot better than breaking the hearts of 6 well-known and well-loved children. So together, they hopped in his little red sports car and they rode to an abortion clinic. And they went in, signed the register, and sat down. And they waited, and they waited, and they waited. They waited for almost an hour. A clerical error caused my birth mom's name to be skipped, and another woman's name to be called, and another life to be snuffed out that day. And that was part of the providence that allowed my life to be spared. Another part of the providence was that during that waiting period, the memory of a children's Sunday school class that my birth mom sat in on some 20 years earlier suddenly surfaced and flooded her mind. It was a lesson on the 10 Commandments. A lesson that she just happened to sit in on one Sunday when she just happened to be visiting an out-of-town aunt who just happened to take her to church, a thing that her family rarely ever did. Well, as she sat waiting in that lobby to end my life, the words, "Thou shalt not kill," roared across her conscience like thunder. And she realized that what she was about to do was murder. And she said she turned to my biological dad and said, "I can't go through with this, and somehow I'm going to find a way to bring this baby to term." And she walked out of that abortion clinic alone. She spent the next 7 months alone, hiding out in a little one-room hunting cabin deep in the woods of Sumter, South Carolina, not all that far away from here, trying to avoid the shame of her circumstances and determined to give life to the fruit of her circumstances. That's what she did, and that's how I'm here. She didn't have a Palmetto Pregnancy Center to be there with her. She was alone. So what you ladies are doing is important, and I know my birth mom would have loved to have had y'all alongside of her. I found out that after an incredibly long labor, she actually talked the labor and delivery nurse into letting her hold me for a moment, which was kind of rare in those days. And she told me that as she held me, she stroked my fingers and she prayed 2 things. One is that I would come to know Jesus, even as she had come to know Jesus through this trial. And she prayed that one day I might learn to play piano. Well, here we are. And this next song is kind of part of her story and a part of mine, and maybe even a little part of some of your own.
She sits alone in a little cabin, contemplating the consequences of her sin. A married man and she a single lady, and soon a child. At 17, she headed off to college, heart full of dreams and pockets full of holes. Her future seemed as bright as noonday shining, but that was long ago. At in vain. A decade since has passed, and life and death wait in her grasp. At 31, she chooses life over convenience and gives the gift that another could not have. Mercy's hand knit beauty from sin sorrow for this child. And she says, all our days are God's design, and all our steps are ordained. And I am where I am, not by chance or by mistake, but by the sovereign hand of grace. At 62, the phone rings in the hallway. On the other end, a voice she'd longed for so. Her prayers were heard, and Mercy's child was calling, just to let her know that all our days are God's design, and all our steps are ordained. And I am who I am, not by chance or by mistake, but by the sovereign hand of grace. All your days are God's design, and all your steps are ordained. And you are who you are, not by chance or by mistake, but by the sovereign hand